0-100 on August 17, 1944, in northern France near Falaise, a GMC CCKW truck sat abandoned on the roadside. Its canvas cover had been torn by shrapnel, and the engines were still warm. The American convoy it had belonged to had been caught in a Luftwaffe strafing run, one of the increasingly rare occasions when German aircraft appeared over France. 027 mechanics from the 276th Infantry Division approached the vehicle cautiously, examining what the Americans called a Deuce-and-a-Half. 037. Get the Weibel hopfold, one mechanic called. This one's intact. 042 What they discovered over the next hour would confirm suspicions that had been growing since Normandy. Germany had already lost this war. The war was not fought on the battlefield, but in the factories of Detroit. The American truck was massive compared to its German counterparts, weighing in at 2.5 tons. It dwarfed the standard Opel Blitz. Yet, the mechanics were surprised by its simplicity. The 6-cylinder engine was openly accessible, with parts clearly labeled in English. The mechanic opened the toolbox mounted on the running board, revealing standard wrenches, pliers, and a manual printed on quality paper with detailed illustrations. "Look at this," the Hedfeld Weibel said, flipping through the manual. "Everything is explained with pictures. A child could follow these instructions." The Americans had designed the truck with ease of use and maintenance in mind, a stark contrast to the complexity of German military vehicles. The mechanic's meticulous examination of the captured American truck unveiled a design philosophy that prioritized simplicity and standardization over raw power. The 1943 GMC CCKW 353, with its Pontiac plant production markings, exemplified this approach. While the 269 cubic inch GMC 270 engine's 104 horsepower output might not have impressed by German standards, the mechanic recognized that performance was not the primary objective. Instead, the truck's design focused on uniformity, with every bolt, nut, and spark plug positioned for easy access and maintenance. This emphasis on interchangeability and serviceability, rather than sheer might, reflected the American manufacturer's pragmatic approach to military vehicle production, churning out thousands of these reliable, user-friendly machines to support the war effort. The GMC military vehicle was designed with the needs of America's conscript army in mind. Rather than engineering for perfection, the focus was on ensuring availability and ease of maintenance for the diverse pool of drivers, many of whom had minimal mechanical training. Every component was selected for its widespread accessibility, avoiding anything exotic or requiring specialized knowledge. For instance, the 6-wheel drive system utilized a straightforward transfer case to engage the front axle, allowing even inexperienced farm boys from Iowa and factory workers from Pennsylvania to operate the vehicle with little difficulty. As one mechanic observed, this design approach was brilliant, prioritizing the capabilities of the average soldier over meticulous craftsmanship. The Pontiac plant's first produced truck boasted a remarkable capability that outshone its German counterparts. Unlike the rear-wheel-driven Opel Blitz trucks, which constantly struggled in the French mud and demanded cautious handling to avoid getting stuck, this American behemoth could power through terrain that would have immobilized its German rivals. Its simple yet unbreakable leaf spring suspension, easily repairable with a rock if needed, stood in stark contrast to the sophisticated torsion bar setup of the Opel, which required specialized factory tools. The numbers stamped on the frame revealed the truck's production priority, underscoring its significance in the war effort. The M-Series truck was one of approximately 150,000 vehicles produced in 1943 alone. A single American plant managed to manufacture more trucks that year than the entire German war effort across all vehicle categories. A perceptive mechanic quickly realized the sheer scale of this industrial capacity, pondering how many such plants the United States must possess. Indeed, major automakers like GMC, Chevrolet, Studebaker, International Harvester, Dodge, and Ford were all mass-producing standardized military trucks with interchangeable parts. During an inspection, the unit's supply officer, who had previously worked at the Opel plant in Brandenburg, offered a fresh perspective. "We're looking at this the wrong way," he remarked. "We see a simple truck, but..." The American manufacturing approach showcased by the GMC model represented a comprehensive production philosophy that defied direct replication. As the executive explained, the stamped steel body panels, though crude, could be mass-produced by any capable press shop. The wooden cargo bed utilized standard lumber readily available from any sawmill, while the canvas top employed common commercial fabric. Nothing was specialized. Everything was readily accessible. Examining the chassis, the straight-channel steel welded together into a ladder frame could be easily manufactured by any structural steel plant. This stood in stark contrast to the Opel's precisely formed frame rails, which necessitated specialized dies. The American model prioritized simplicity, standardization, and widespread availability over intricate, customized components. The GMC trucks, engineered for their immense 553 strength and massive industrial capacity, 556 were not necessarily superior to the Opel 559 Blitz in terms of technical elegance. 602 However, the GMC's key advantage lay in its 604 superior producibility. 607 In 1943, the Allies manufactured approximately 27,614 Opel Blitz trucks, while the American 616 likely built over 20 times that number of 618 GMC trucks alone. 622 This was just one truck model from a single 625 American manufacturer. 627 In fact, U.S. factories would go on to produce over 562,631 CCKW trucks during the war. 635 In contrast, Germany's entire wartime production of the Opel 637 Blitz, the backbone of the Wehrmacht's 640 logistics, totaled perhaps only 100,643 units, with most being the 4x2 version. The units captured GMC trucks soon proved its worth, transforming their logistical capabilities. While their standard Opel trucks struggled through muddy terrain, the rugged GMC effortlessly powered through, even when heavily laden beyond its rated capacity. Its six-wheel drive system provided unmatched traction, a stark contrast to the rear-wheel drive of their other vehicles. As one supply sergeant who drove the GMC daily observed, "This truck is reliable in a way our vehicles aren't. It's not that it's better built, but that it's designed expecting abuse." They knew soldiers would overload it. The American military engineers had crafted the GMC truck with the realities of war in mind, not just the theoretical considerations. They anticipated that drivers would be poorly trained, maintenance would be delayed, and operating conditions would be abysmal. Consequently, they designed the vehicle to be straightforward, resilient, and forgiving. On August 25, 1944, as the Red Ball Express commenced operations, the 276th Infantry Division was ordered to withdraw eastward. They observed a sight that solidified their understanding of American logistics prowess. An American convoy traversed a parallel road, not as part of a tactical maneuver, but rather as a... The young German soldier gazed in bewilderment as an endless procession of trucks rumbled past. 827 The watching Germans counted the vehicles for a time, but eventually gave up, 832 overwhelmed by the sheer volume. 835 GMC CCKW trucks, all identical and fully loaded, advanced with mechanical precision toward the front lines. 843. Where are their horses? The soldier asked, 851 perplexed by the sight of a fully motorized army. 855 The Hopedfeld Weibel realized the boy had never witnessed such a logistical feat. 857 As the Wehrmacht had relied on horses for 80% of its supply transport. 9 o'clock Their division alone required over 5,000 horses, 905 which needed food, water, rest, and veterinary care, limiting their marching range to around 30 miles per day. 912 This American supply column, in contrast, rolled onward with unstoppable momentum. The American forces boasted an impressive logistical advantage, with their divisions equipped with a staggering 2,000 trucks each. Across the 40 divisions deployed in France, this amounted to a staggering 80,000 trucks supporting combat operations, not including the additional supply services. In contrast, the Allied forces could only muster a meager 3 million horses and a mere 100,000 trucks. This stark disparity in motorized capabilities left the opposition struggling to comprehend the American industrial might that fueled such a formidable logistical juggernaut. The realization of this overwhelming advantage was a sobering one. The American automotive industry had been designed for mass production long before the war. Ford's assembly line and GM's production systems were already in place, allowing them to swiftly convert civilian production to military needs when the war arrived. The same factories that built Chevrolet sedans now constructed GMC trucks, and the same workers who assembled Oldsmobiles now assembled military vehicles. This transition was seamless, as the underlying manufacturing philosophy of standardization, interchangeability, and mass production remained the same. In contrast, Germany lacked the robust production infrastructure that the United States possessed. Even at peak capacity, the Opel plant in Brandenburg could not match the output of a single American automotive complex, and the U.S. had dozens of such facilities. By September 1944, this industrial advantage had become increasingly apparent. The unit had captured 3 more GMC trucks and a Dodge WC-63. The mechanics were astonished to discover that the parts were interchangeable not only between the GMC trucks, but also across different manufacturers. A GMC carburetor fit the Dodge, and the electrical components were standardized. Even the tires were the same size. The supply officer explained that they had standardized their entire vehicle fleet, with one set of specifications used by multiple manufacturers. This meant any mechanic could service any truck, and any parts depot could supply any vehicle. Their logistics were unified in a way that the Wehrmacht's had never been, as the German forces used vehicles from dozens of manufacturers with incompatible parts. A mechanic trained on one model would struggle to work on another. The division's diverse fleet of vehicles posed a logistical challenge. Maintaining a wide range of makes and models required stocking an extensive inventory of spare parts. This proved to be a daunting task, as the mechanics had to cater to hundreds of vehicle types. On October 3, 1944, the division's remaining vehicles became stranded when the fuel supply failed to arrive. While the horses could forage, the trucks remained immobilized. In contrast, American operations continued uninterrupted, thanks to their reliable supply network built on the ubiquitous GMC trucks. During this enforced downtime, the mechanics studied the captured American vehicles, leading to a pivotal observation. They realized that the American approach to vehicle design prioritized functionality over aesthetics, a stark contrast to the division's own focus on creating vehicles of superior quality. The Hedfeld-Weibel, a renowned expert, meticulously documented the technical specifications of the iconic GMC CCKW truck in a comprehensive report. This detailed analysis delved into the standardized components, straightforward maintenance procedures, and robust construction that prioritized durability over aesthetic appeal. While the Opel Blitz boasted superior fuel efficiency and maneuverability, the report acknowledged that these advantages were ultimately inconsequential, as Germany's production capabilities paled in comparison to the sheer volume of American trucks, with a ratio of 1 German vehicle for every 5 or 6 American counterparts. The report's conclusion underscored the industrial might of the United States, emphasizing that their manufacturing philosophy favored quantity and standardization over individual craftsmanship, a factor that proved pivotal in the overwhelming success of the Allies in the total war. The American manufacturing prowess during the Second World War was truly remarkable. In the face of relentless combat, the United States' industrial capacity proved to be a decisive advantage. German intelligence closely monitored the staggering production figures, with American factories churning out an astounding 2.4 million military trucks over the course of the conflict, a total that the combined efforts of Germany, Italy, and Japan could not match. The Ardennes offensive, launched by Hitler in December 1944 as a last-ditch gamble in the West, highlighted the Germans' dire logistical situation. Their operational plan heavily relied on capturing American fuel supplies, as the Reich lacked the resources to sustain the offensive independently. German soldiers were instructed to utilize captured American vehicles whenever possible, as their own logistics systems were simply overwhelmed. The German military's final major offensive hinged on capturing the very vehicles and fuel that symbolized their waning dominance. The 276th Infantry Division participated, utilizing a mix of seized American trucks and their dwindling Opel fleet. Yet the offensive stalled not due to fierce American resistance alone, but because German logistics had crumbled. Panzer divisions abandoned tanks when fuel trucks couldn't reach them, while infantry units reverted to horse-drawn wagons as their motorized transport failed. In stark contrast, American supply operations maintained mechanical precision, even after the Red Ball Express had concluded. In November, American logistics had shifted to operate from Antwerp, Brussels, and Cherbourg. Trucks transported supplies on routes that became more efficient as engineers rebuilt French infrastructure. The American Army functioned as a machine, fueled by an industry operating on an unprecedented scale, unlike anything Germany had achieved. As the Ardennes offensive faltered and German forces retreated in January 1945, the captured GMC trucks proved invaluable, still running despite the harsh conditions. In contrast, the Opel trucks had mostly broken down, the difference not just in maintenance but in design philosophy. The GMC was built to withstand punishment, while the Opel adhered to German engineering standards. The 276th Infantry Division found themselves defending positions in the Rhineland by March 1945, as American forces had crossed the Rhine in overwhelming strength. The mechanics observed the American supply operations with a mix of professional admiration and despair, acknowledging the logistical prowess that powered the U.S. military machine. As one Hopfold Wiebel remarked, "They've built an army that runs on logistics, and they've built logistics that can't be stopped." The German army had been built on the assumption of short campaigns where tactical excellence would overcome material disadvantages, but they were now facing years of sustained combat against an enemy that produced equipment faster than they could destroy it. Ultimately, the division was forced to surrender. On April 18, 1945 at 1713, the prisoners were transported to processing centers in American GMC trucks. The journey provided a final lesson in the industrial capacity of the United States. At the processing center near Koblenz, the prisoners witnessed hundreds of American trucks in the motor pools, serviced by young American soldiers with a casual efficiency that would have been unimaginable in the Wehrmacht. Parts were plentiful, tools readily available, and maintenance manuals were straightforward enough for minimally trained soldiers to perform complex repairs. A captured mechanic conversed with an American motor sergeant, who, despite the circumstances, was surprisingly friendly, remarking, "You're mechanics. Hell, we need mechanics. Can you?" The sergeant gestured towards the GMC trucks, stating that they had maintained several captured ones. He acknowledged that the war was over for the German mechanics, but the trucks still required upkeep. The sergeant offered to have them assigned to the motor pool, suggesting it would be better than sitting behind barbed wire. Over the following weeks, the German mechanics worked alongside American soldiers, maintaining the very vehicles that had contributed to their defeat. The American sergeant explained the maintenance philosophy with candid honesty, emphasizing the focus on speed, quick maintenance, common parts, and simple procedures. He highlighted the engine, noting that a complete overhaul could be done by a two-person team in 8 hours using field tools, a task that would be challenging to accomplish. The German mechanic acknowledged the truth: an Opel engine overhaul requires factory conditions and specialized equipment. The design approach differed between the two sides: precision for the Allies, practicality for the Axis. In peacetime, the Axis method likely produced better vehicles, but in wartime, the Allied approach yielded trucks that kept armies mobile. The sheer volume of Allied truck production, encompassing models from GMC, Dodge, Studebaker, and International, proved a decisive factor in the conflict. Not superior equipment, but overwhelming quantity that the enemy could not overcome. Over 500,000 of just the GMC model were built, with millions of trucks in total produced by the Allies. This industrial might, rather than technological advantage, ultimately won the war. The American elaborated further. Interestingly, these trucks are not overly complex. They utilized commercial truck technology, with only minor modifications for military purposes. The engines and transmissions were essentially commercial designs. The key was making them rugged and producing them in massive quantities. This lesson was fully grasped by German mechanics. America's victory was as much a triumph of industrial philosophy as it was of industrial capacity. From the outset, the design prioritized mass production, ruthless standardization, reliability over sophistication, and the establishment of supply chains capable of sustaining operations indefinitely. Many of these mechanics spent months in prisoner camps, often working in American motor pools, where they witnessed firsthand the sheer scale of American logistics during the occupation of Germany was staggering. Convoys of hundreds of trucks constantly moved vital supplies across the ravaged landscape. Repair depots were stocked with more spare parts than entire German divisions had ever possessed. The production systems were so efficient that damaged vehicles were often simply replaced rather than repaired, as new ones arrived faster than repairs could be completed. As repatriation began in late 1945, German mechanics returned to a devastated homeland. Cities lay in ruins, factories were destroyed, yet American vehicles were ubiquitous. GMC trucks hauling reconstruction materials, jeeps carrying occupation forces, equipment supporting the initial stages of German rebuilding. Among these was the H. Feld Whale, now a civilian, who found work at a vehicle repair facility in Frankfurt 2129. His familiarity with American equipment 2133 made him a valuable asset. One day, while training young Germans in 2138 vehicle maintenance, he contemplated 2140 the lessons of the war. Before the conflict, 2143 we believed German engineering was 2146 superior. That quality would triumph 2149 over quantity. 2150 but we were mistaken. The Americans grasped 2153 the realities of modern industrial warfare better 2156 than we did. They produced adequate 2158 equipment in staggering numbers, standardizing 2201 ruthlessly. 2203 they designed for the Army's needs, drawing 2206 upon millions of ordinary men, not the elite 2208 force we had envisioned. Gesturing at the GMC 2212 trucks in the depot yard, he acknowledged 2215 that these vehicles were not masterpieces. The American military's triumph during the war was not due to the engineering prowess of individual vehicles, but rather the efficiency of the system that produced them in vast quantities. Standardized parts and simple maintenance allowed any soldier to operate and repair these trucks. By 1947, the Marshall Plan's aid to Germany was primarily transported in American trucks, which German mechanics maintained using the skills honed from years of hands-on experience. As German industry rebuilt, many adopted American manufacturing principles, such as standardization, component interchangeability, and design for ease of production. The GMC CCKW remained a staple in American service long after the war's end. In the decades following World War II, the German automotive industry underwent a remarkable transformation. The Opel Blitz, once a symbol of Germany's industrial shortcomings during the conflict, gave way to a new generation of vehicles that combined the precision engineering of German design with the mass production techniques pioneered in the United States. Companies like Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and the rebuilt Volkswagen brand emerged as global leaders, creating automobiles that embodied the best of both engineering philosophies. These vehicles, designed for efficient mass production, were a testament to the robust and enduring nature of German engineering. Many of these vehicles served for decades in Allied militaries, further demonstrating their durability and versatility. The expertise of former Wehrmacht mechanics, who had maintained both German and American vehicles during the war, proved invaluable to the rebuilding of the German automotive industry. These mechanics understood both approaches and could effectively articulate the synergies between them. The American manufacturing approach had demonstrated its superiority in prolonged military engagements, as a 1967 interview with an industry consultant in an automotive trade journal revealed. A key lesson was that in modern warfare, Striving for perfection could undermine the practical requirements. German vehicles, though beautifully designed, were too complex for mass production and field maintenance, unlike the adequate American-made trucks that could be manufactured by the millions and repaired by anyone. The nation's defeat was not due to inferior engineering, but a misunderstanding of the demands of industrial-scale conflict. Accompanying the article was an image of a restored GMC CCKW truck. In a prominent automotive museum, visitors encountered a striking display. The caption identified the vehicle as an American GMC CCKW Deuce-and-a-Half truck. This rugged workhorse had been produced in staggering quantities, with over 560,000 units manufactured between 1941 and 1945. These trucks had formed the backbone of the Red Ball Express, embodying the American industrial philosophy that overwhelmed Axis powers through mass production and standardization. Placed alongside the GMC, a restored Opel Blitz truck caught the eye. The caption described it as a German Opel Blitz, 3-ton truck, with approximately 100,000 produced from 1937 to 1944. While the Opel Blitz was an excellent vehicle in its own right, its design was hampered by limited production capacity and the lack of four-wheel drive in most models. The visual comparison between the two trucks told a compelling story. Both were well designed, but the sheer scale of the GMC's production had given the American vehicle a decisive advantage over its German counterpart. The mechanics who inspected that initial German vehicle in the summer of 1944 had instantly grasped its significance. They had witnessed the contrast between the future and Germany's bygone era. The industrial philosophy cultivated in Detroit's automotive hubs and honed through years of large-scale manufacturing had demonstrated its superiority for the demands of modern combat. The GMC CCKW was more than just a transport, it embodied a harsh educational experience. Standardized components, straightforward 25-56 maintenance, and a logistical 25-59 network capable of sustaining armies 26.01 indefinitely characterized one side. The other side produced a quality product, but in insufficient quantities, as its industrial base couldn't match 26-10 American manufacturing capacity. 26-14. The narrative of German mechanics and the GMC truck is a profound exploration of industrial warfare, design philosophy, and the power of quantity. For those who maintained these vehicles as prisoners and later as civilians rebuilding their country, these lessons profoundly shaped their lives and influenced German manufacturing for generations. It is a story of learning through defeat, where the mechanics had believed in German superiority, precision over quantity, and engineering perfection over mass production. However, the American trucks, simple, abundant, and reliable, challenged these notions, imparting knowledge that, though painful to acquire, became invaluable during the Reconstruction, aiding Germany's transformation from the vanquished foe had been transformed into a thriving partner, a testament to the insights gleaned from the countless American trucks that had traversed the European battlegrounds. The mechanics who operated the seized GMC vehicles conceded that they had never encountered such machines, not due to superior design, but rather a production ethos that had eluded Germany. This candid and humble acknowledgement heralded the dawn of a newfound wisdom that would pave the way for national reconstruction.